12h39 sur ALL4PACK.
12:39, a new great debate, the extension of sorting instructions to include all the plastic packages. We have guests here to talk about this. To inform you, of course, Jean-Luc RIVAL, head of the recycling and sorting at Eco-Emballages, Sophie Ecodesign manager and CSR at Eco-Emballages, Jean-Luc RIVAL, R&D manager at CGL Pack, specialized in thermo-formed plastics for agribusiness. Jean-Luc DAVOUST first. Let's talk about the context of the ecosystem and recycling of household waste. 1992 in France, we chose in 1992 to collect and only recycle bottles. Today, this is the REP, extended producer responsibility, REP. Yes, indeed. You're citing 1992 is the date for starting the sorting of household waste with the REP and the Eco-Emballage creation. At a time, sorting instructions for plastics were bottles limited to bottles and flasks, which are easy to identify by the consumer. It was quite relevant, which is 23% of recycling in household waste and plastics, and in addition with the goals of Europe. Now, regularly, there is the issue of extending the sorting instructions to other plastic containers in households. This is done in Germany, for example, in 2009, at a time when sorting techniques were effective and were adapted to sorting more packages. The issue was put back on the table, and a research was done with Eco-Emballage ADEME in the wake of the Grenelle environment meetings. It was also in forecasting changes in the European directive with a rate of recycling of plastics which was higher. Today, our goals have to be achieved in 2022. Yes, all this resulted in, we worked on this. The study showed that extension of sorting instructions was possible today under certain conditions. This resulted in a instruction in the law, in the Energy Transitional Law of 2015. The goal is to extend the sorting instructions by 2022. Before talking about the requirements and prerequisites, what is the number of packages? 1,100,000 tons every year. And two main categories of products. It is a caricature, but it is quite relevant. Namely, we have on the one hand packages which are single materials, partly or wholly. When you have one resin, which is a packaging, you imagine that behind the recycling activity is quite easy to perform. And you got a second category. Oh wait, it represents about 3/4 of the household waste. That's good news. Good news. Along this, we have other packages which are multi-material packages. It's true for plastic and other materials. Multi-materials, namely films, shrink films, resin films, brought together. We understand that here, when you look at recycling, it is more complicated. There's another type of packages which is now quite complicated to recycle, namely dark color packages, on dark conveyor belts. That's where you intervene as a manufacturer, Jean-Luc RIVAL, at CGL Pack. Is it a problem, or can it become a solution, these dark packages? Optic readers cannot identify them when they're dark colored. It's that easy. It's a real challenge, technically speaking. Dark colored packages are made black or dark through carbon black, which is opaque. and interesting also. So it's part of all the dark packages. It's a real challenge to try to find something different, replacing it with advantage. We are lucky to participate in a project with Eco-Emballage to find substitutes and make dark packages recyclable. That's the purpose, not to lose them. We have a lot of invention. We have solutions out there today. They're not yet implemented or that as opaque as carbon black. Otherwise, we'll have to support the discourse to our customers. Is Ecodesign part of this issue of dark packages? Carbon black does not seem to be eco-friendly. Oh yes, no problem, no problem. Carbon black is eco-friendly, but it's not detectable. So carbon black-based packages cannot be identified. Sophie Bonnier, eco-designer and CSR managers at Eco-Emballages. Let me first tell you what eco-design is. That's basic. What is eco-design, which impacts the recycling process? Yes, and eco-designing means from the design know what will be the impact of the package on the environment, during its life cycle, and we have to cut back on this impact, including weight reduction or improving recyclability of packages, making sure that they will be recycled when they're sorted by consumers. To do so, we got to work on this carbon black, which is hard to detect and identify at the sorting center. So what is the state of the art on this score? The state of the art, where research is ongoing, it shows that carbon black is a colorant which is widely used by the industry, easy to process in procedures. It's important when you produce a packaging to look at the production runs and speed, and not to go against production speed. The challenge is to find new colorants, but these new colorants which are black, which are not carbon black, will be harder to process or machine or transform, or it's too expensive for the industrialist. It won't work because eco-design is based on sustainable development, which has 3 pillars. You're the gatekeeper. Environment is one of the pillars, economics and social. So the idea is to find a solution which is economically viable. We understand through this example of dark packages that all the ecosystem is impacted. Jean-Luc DAVOUST, multiple challenges affecting first local authorities running sorting centers. Also, the inhabitant is concerned. The consumer is involved. The first challenge is here, and namely simplification, the sorting process for the consumer. We started with the bottles and flasks, but people who are highly involved in sorting tell themselves, what about my tray? What about my plastic bag? The challenge for the inhabitant is to make the sorting process easier. Second, you've got challenges for the design and manufacturing of packages, improving recyclability. Next, in terms of local authorities and their operators, you've got several challenges in terms of sorting, optimization, and there is a major challenge in terms of sorting household packages. At what level? Sorting means separating out products inside the yellow dustbin, so that flows produced may easily enter into recycling flows. This is done in dedicated units, of course. It so happens that today, again, sorting as practiced in France may be, in some cases, done in units which are very manual, very small units. You're talking about sorting centers, and which therefore are not adapted to industrialization of sorting. The challenge is to industrialize sorting procedures to sort as efficiently as possible household plastic waste, and to do it under working conditions which are acceptable for the operators.
producteurs impliquent les industriels. On vient d'en...
Now, as you've seen this, industrialists are involved in this process. There's something basic you said, Jean-Luc DAVOUST, that mono single materials. A PET bottle is a single material, no problem. Accounting for 75%, they're recyclable potentially. Yes. Among the remaining 25%, you get both dark packages, but also you have yogurt in polystyrene cups. That's an issue here. The yogurt cup is in a material which is polystyrene with a lid and a sticker. Potentially, it is recyclable. You said so yourself. But compared to the industries for recycling in place, it's another resin. There is a lot of work to be had because it's a small cup. All the person will not sense or identify the yogurt cup. We're starting from what the consumer does, mixing everything, and then you're trying to separate out to have a flow which is as pure as possible, and so that the material be recyclable. Let's recall that we have the extension of sorting instructions. That's part of the producer responsibility. So the consumer's got to put a lot of waste into the yellow trash can, and there will be a logjam at the sorting center. Yes, all the links in the chains at different times must concatenate to result in the sorting. What is your role as Eco-Emballage for operators? Right away, Eco-Emballage has a position as follows. We intervene, we are present because of our relations with all the players along the chain. We have a role of coordinator, moderator, facilitator. Vis-a-vis local authorities and operators, we have a role which is that of support, explaining what you have to implement. And in view of this mission of extended responsibility producers, we have to play a role of support or financial operator in the implementation of new solutions. We are supporting financially investments for new in new sorting units to succeed. The extension of sorting instructions to, start the ball rolling. We have an experiment pursued. We're going to talk about this on the extension of sorting instructions, REP, from 2010 to 2014. We have 4 million concerns today. We're not experimenting, we are developing. 50 million French people are concerned. Yeah, the REP, that's the REP, REP. Otherwise, I talked about the 2009 research. It resulted in experiments. It's easy to say, well, let's do it. Let's do it. But it must be a top-down approach. We had experimentation from 2012 to 24 on 4 million inhabitants, which was quite beneficial, which made it possible to draw the learnings and define the actions to be implemented to succeed in extending the sorting instructions. It's ongoing as I speak. We have to make a commitment with all the operators, local authorities, in a first rollout phase to make it possible, or which will result in having, at the end of 2016, more than 15 million inhabitants in France, sorting out waste 1 French out of 4, which is quite important. What are the findings of your studies? The main findings, or the main finding, is that, yes, indeed, it is possible, it is doable. The inhabitant must sort and there will be more household waste which is recycled. But once again, some learnings are as follows. As Sophie said, our approach is based on sustainable development. Oh yeah, that's, there is a very important dimension, the economic dimension. Let's not delude ourselves. You cannot do things, as you see with the COP 2021, At COP 21, they had rented 35,000 thermal cars. Incredible. You got to be ambitious, but also pragmatic and practical. Sophie Bonnier, moving to mono material, is it the only viable solution long term? Well, CGL Pack might be against us in terms of recyclers if all the packages were in single material, only in cardboard, for example, or only in metal or in one resin. Recyclers will be very happy. It would be easier to process and recycle into a new product. But if pigs could fly, you know what I mean. Packaging fulfills a role which is protection of the product in agribusiness, for example. And you can fight also food waste, which goes in the direction of protecting the environment. To fulfill the role of protection, packages cannot be made of one single material. You got to preserve on our shelves, marmalades or what have you, depending on the shelf life. You can always have mono resin in packages. That's a utopia, having one single material. Yeah, well, packages cannot fulfill its role if it were only made of a mono resin. It's possible for water bottle, but not for prepared dishes, for example, or ham slices. Packages must protect the product from bacteria or contamination. Therefore, you got to use several resins, different resins, in the packages, which makes the recycling more complicated. What about recycling for those multi-layer materials, and how do you recycle them? Some are perfectly recyclable. Now, which ones? It's hard to tell them apart. Sorting centers are having headaches, but upstreams also in Ecodesign, we set up an expert committee called the Co-Trap here to advise companies in the design, telling them your combination of resins will be recyclable or not. That's the type of body we have. Do you accept the advice, Jean-Luc RIVAL? Not yet, but right now we're working elsewhere. But right away, what I want to say is that as a package maker, we're happy of the fact that you've got this extension of sorting instructions, which will make it possible to make recycled trays, which were not recyclable. In this direction, it's something which is highly positive for manufacturers of packages. There's an economic criteria using recycled materials. Not only, yes, but not only. If you want to do eco-design, I've been doing eco-designs for 10 years. What was missing was that the product made at the end of life would get a new lease on life. Now, what about the mono or single material? I don't know whether you have an R&D department in your companies. We have, yes, because you're an R&D manager. It follows. How do you resolve the issue raised by Sophie Bonnier? Can you resolve this problem? Bring together resins which will be virtuous together, which will work together. You've got several scales. The first thing you can do as a manufacturer of packaging is to make sure that you do not perturb the recycling flows. It's our responsibility as designers and manufacturers. Like, the history of dark packages. You don't want to disturb the sorting flow. Small packages or some materials are quote-unquote, more disturbing than others. You know their names, of course. They have been identified. We try to remove them from the sorting flow. Are we going to have only single materials? Yeah, we tend toward this. We made great strides to go from multi-layer to single-layer materials. You've got high tonnages today. I guess we're making 90% of what is made. 90% of what is made is based on single materials. We have a precise sector, but it's possible in our company now. Indeed, we won't have 100%. Some functions in some fields, in some products, which require multi-layers, but we're trying hard to reduce this percentage as best we can. That's part of our duties. Mr. Jean-Luc DAVOUST, we talked about difficulties of sorting products. It was being resolved progressively. We talked about recycling. We talked about conditions for recycling. Let's talk about the recycled materials. That's important. Today, there's something which is shocking for the citizen. The price of the raw materials is less expensive than recycled materials prices. It's shocking, it's shocking for the citizen. Now, for the consumer, for the user of a car, it's a benefit. It's a benefit. Let's be cautious on this. This being said, the main competitor of recycled matters is virgin materials. The context, the current backdrop, is not an asset for developing recycling, so that you've got a family of players, namely, which we did not tackle, namely the family of recyclers who today are in a very tense situation because of this background, because of the low oil prices. All the players, we bring in materials which is more varied and diverse than what they had with the bottles and flasks. So they have to invest. They have to adapt. Recyclers must invest in new facilities. They need to change their process, also do R&D so that it's implemented. It's one of the reasons why we are also rolling this out over several years, because at every step of the way, you need to evolve and change the practices. Of course, increasing the data collected on packages, extending the sorting require good information. A Nesquik bottle is the same material used in an oil bottle. Yeah, you put it into the yellow trash can. Increasing. Yes, indeed, because we are committed to an approach which is to extend the sorting instructions and to increase the recycled quantities of recycled household waste. Mr. Rival said you have multi-materials, and tomorrow, and today, there's another challenge behind, which is enhancing recycling non-recyclable packages. It's very important in the project because what we called, sorting refusal. What's the percentage of sorting refusal? What comes into the sorting centers? Well, around 12, 13% is rejected. You're not going to bury this in a dump. Local authorities, use it to incinerate the materials to produce energy. Some incinerators produce power or steam, but in low quantities. And you've got local authorities which bury this in dumps. Sorting refusal must be recycled. As part of all the work carried out for many years, We supported projects to recycle this. Processing the waste in boilers, or in France, the cement industry is using this waste. You got projects for using this in boiler rooms, for hospitals, schools, what have you. The legislation must follow suit. That's part of the project. A lot of work cut out for you, gosh. Yes, of course. With years of work ahead of us, this concerns all the links in the chain ahead of us. We have a high potential for progress. Yes, it's a great project. Now, there is also an unknown quantity, an uncertainty. We understand public authorities in 2018 will renew the agreements, the approvals. Yes, we're going to work together, smartly, intelligently. That's the value, interest of every stakeholders. To be efficient, yes, this will change the backdrop, but it is the same project. Now, if you're intelligent, you get along with people. Thank you, Jean-Luc DAVOUST. Thank you, Sophie Bonnier. Thank you, Jean-Luc RIVAL, CGL Pack. We'll see you at your booth. What's the position of your booth? Next door, 07 aisle C. See you on the CGL Pack booth to discover innovations, which you present there. It's 1.06. We're right on time. See you in an hour at 2 p.m. Have a great lunch at ALL4PACK.